Oh gosh, I am back. Okay, I keep wanting to lean forward because I feel like I'm like gossiping and chit-chatting with like my girls, but I'm not. I mean, I am, but I'm not. Like, I'm actually sitting in front of a camera talking into a dark room. So, hey y'all, it is Kiaaj. I am finally back with another video. Listen, I know I said that February I was gonna be locked in real tight. I don't know what happened, but I'm here now. And I'm gonna share the goodies. Okay. Today's book, we are discussing a romance novel. It's like, I'm super late to the game, so don't even judge me for real, because I'm like hella late to the game, but it's okay, we're locked in. This is Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go. And before I get into the book and the review, I'm gonna go ahead and just pop some trigger warnings up on the screen. This does talk about stillbirth. It does talk about death of a parental figure. It also discusses depression, suicide ideation, and divorce and depression. So if these topics are going to be a little heavy for you, this is your fair warning to get out. Okay, I don't know if y'all read fanfic, but this is what we would call dead dove do not eat, which basically means I'm telling you, you don't want these. If those are triggers, you do not want these problems. So the TLDR for this is, this follows a once deeply devoted, I have like notes. This follows a once deeply devoted Yasmin and Josiah trying to navigate co-parenting, a business partnership, and their feelings 2 years post-divorce, which was brought on by life-altering events. Okay. So some of the tropes that you're going to see is forced proximity, slow burn, and found family. It is a dual POV book. We do get both Josiah and Yasmin's point of view for this entire book. It alternates. It's not always like a direct back and forth. Sometimes you get like 2 Yasmin, 1 Josiah, 2 Josiah, 1 Yasmin. But you do get both of their perspectives during the entirety of this novel. Yeah, the divorce is brought on by life-altering events, and I'm pretty sure based on the trigger warnings you can kind of figure out what those were. But some of the important notes about them, Josiah and Yasmin, they were college sweethearts. Their story is very much nothing to something. Like, our first introduction to them is they're in this little ratty tatty apartment. Josiah gets down on one knee and proposes to her at the kitchen table, which is not even like a real table. It's like a spades table that they are repurposing for the purposes of his grad school apartment's dining room table, and he proposes on one knee with no ring, and they just seal the deal with a kiss. I think it's super beautiful. They do own a restaurant in Atlanta called Grits. It is a soul food restaurant that they use making making Josiah's Aunt Bird's recipes. That Yasmin is very actively involved in the community, or she's at least trying to become as active as she was pre her life literally falling apart. Because make no mistake, her life literally falls apart. But we're gonna get into it. So the main characters are Yasmin and Josiah. They are exes. We do meet them 2 years post-divorce. Yasmin initiated the divorce after a rough patch. The couple suffered 2 really devastating deaths, like back to back. So they had the stillbirth of their son, Henry. Yasmin tripped and fell in their restaurant. Josiah was away on a conference. There were complications, and Henry unfortunately did not make it. She was just like fighting for her life post that happening, because prior to that, like immediately prior to that, Josiah lost his Aunt Bird, and Aunt Bird is like a maternal figure to him. She's like she's the person who raised him once his parents actually passed away when he was like 8. So she's the one who raised him. She's like her own personality, and we'll talk about her a little bit more later. But Yasmin was very deeply depressed, like deeply depressed. And when we meet her, she's trying to get back to normal, and she's really trying to navigate this co-parenting relationship with Josiah, trying to get back to the restaurant, because while she wasn't feeling well, she kind of had to step back from their restaurant that they have together, Grits, as she's trying to like recover. And that's something that you'll see a lot. Like, they're both grieving, but their grieving processes are so wildly different, and we're going to talk about it. Josiah is also trying to navigate this new post-divorce era, and you can see from like page 1, there's so much resentment from him towards Yasmin, which, I mean, it's fair because she initiated the divorce, and he's just like, bro, I loved you with my whole heart. I would have did anything for you. We were good. We could have made things work. And like, she was like, I gotta go. And I'll discuss that a little bit more as well. One thing about both of them, they are very devoted to their business and to their children. They're super, like, one thing they do manage to get right is their co-parenting relationship, which I really love. Is one of my favorite parts about the book, is the fact that they are able to co-parent, because divorce is hard. I feel like people often forget that parents are people and they also have feelings. And so sometimes it's really easy to let their feelings get in the way of co-parenting and what's best for their children. And these two, they definitely managed to get it done, which is one of the things that I really appreciated about this book, is just seeing a healthy co-parenting dynamic, because I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in the bitter ex-wife, bitter ex-husband, bitter baby mama, bitter baby daddy, and just everybody suffers. That is not this, which I really loved. And when we do meet Josiah, we learn that he is attempting a relationship with somebody else. That somebody else being Vashti, who is the head chef of the Grits restaurant. And immediately Yasmin is like, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. They do share 2 children. Well, they have 3, so excluding Henry. They do have 2 other children. Deja, she is 13. She is a hair influencer. So she might be on here. Hey, girl. She hates Yasmin. She hates Yasmin with a burning passion. She cannot stand this woman. Oh my God. She's kind of, and it's like more than teenage angst, because like 13, fresh hormones, like, you know, but she like hates her own mother with like such passion. It's kind of scary, but she's also a daddy's girl. And we learn a little bit about why she's a daddy's girl so strong now that like post-divorce, and it's just, but she's really rude. I'm not gonna lie, she's really rude, and it was very hard for me to read some of the things that she did and said, because I couldn't imagine saying those things to my mom and still having the right to live. But that's just my opinion. We also have Kasim, who is a 9-year-old boy. He's kind of neutral when it comes to his relationship with his parents. He loves them both, and he's just more of a peacekeeper. He's real sweet, real loving. He just wants to make his parents proud, both of them, and he just really wants them to, he really just wants everybody to get along. And he does play that peacemaker role. He does kind of keep his issues a little bit more internalized. And we do see that when he's facing not challenges at school, but there's a lot of opportunities for him at school, because he is a genius. He's like a brainiac. He is being considered to skip a grade, and we learn about some of the struggles that he's facing in relation to the loss of his parents, well, not the loss of his parents, but the loss of his parents' marriage, the loss of his brother, and the loss of his aunt Bird. We also have Hendrix and Soledad. They are Yasmin's friends. Josiah didn't really have, like, he had like one friend who made like 2 randomish appearances, maybe a couple like random appearances, but Hendrix and Soledad are like the Yasmin's backbone. Hendrix, I'm not gonna lie, Hendrix made the book for me. Like, if it was not for Hendrix, that's not nice, but like Hendrix, she really like sealed the deal in terms of me loving her book. She's bold, she's outspoken, she says what's on her mind. She is single and childless. So out of the 3, Hendrix is the one without a man and without a kid. She is a successful manager for like Housewives, which is basically like the fictionalized version of the Real Housewives of Atlanta. She is taking care of her mother, who has dementia. So we do kind of hear a little bit more about that. And she met both Soledad and Yasmin at yoga, and that is how they become a trio. Soledad is a mom of 3, barely married, and that's covered in book 2, which I have not read yet, but after reading this one, she's on the list. She is softer spoken, a little bit more reserved. She is very talented in the kitchen. She's really talented in a lot of different ways, but she's dealing with her own relationship struggles. To me, she is a little bit less prominent in this book and a little bit less impactful than Hendrix. But again, Hendrix has the opportunity, because she is single and child free, she has more opportunity to be around and more opportunity to kind of interact with Yasmin than Soledad does a little bit. But make no mistake, like, they all get together a lot of the times, the grown-ups, the kids, everybody kind of gets together. So I did talk about Vashti. Vashti, I'm not gonna lie, because I came in on Yasmin's side, I was not feeling Vashti. I was not. And Vashti is the woman that Josiah tries to move on with post-divorce. Mind you, both of them waited like 2 years, but it is what it is. There's a mutual attraction between her and Josiah. She did like him a little bit more, and it was kind of like hard to read. She's insecure about Josiah and Yasmin. She is a great cook, obviously, because she's the head chef. The kids love her, but their relationship is really not like that serious. We have Mark, who is Yasmin's like rebound. And I hate to say rebound because it's been like 2 years. So you would think like, girl, like dip your toe in somebody else's pond, but whatever. He's an aspiring politician. He is more interested in Yasmin than she is in him. Divorced, but too focused on business. And he was really he's more of Yasmin's get back at Josiah for moving on with Vashti, in my unhumble opinion. Then we have Aunt Bird, who is Josiah's aunt, like I stated, raised him after his parents died. She's a lover girl. Mama had like 4 husbands, and apparently they were all trash, but she was a lover girl. And before she passed away, she was dating one of the guys at the restaurant. His name is Milky, which I'm not gonna even try to understand the nickname. I think it's because he's like from Milwaukee or something. Or that might be his name. His name might be like Milwaukee. She was the OG chef for Grits prior to her dying, and she did pass away of a heart attack. And Josiah is the one that found her. So, and of course I can't forget Otis, Big O, named after Mr. Redding. He is Aunt Bird's Great Dane. She left him behind, obviously. Everybody treats him really, really well because I guess he's a Great Dane to have like a very short lifespan, and so they're doing everything that they can to elongate that lifespan. And he seems to understand English because they be like carrying full conversations with, well, not they, Josiah be carrying full conversations with this dog, and I think it's the cutest thing ever because I be talking to my dog like a human sometimes, and I swear it be feeling like she talks back, but I know for a fact that she doesn't because that would be crazy. The conflict, right? And the things that they're trying to overcome. They both have at least physical feelings for each other. We see Yasmin's physical feelings a little bit, almost immediately from like page 1. Josiah is helping her wiggle into a dress because she's getting ready to go out with Soledad and Hendrix for Soledad's birthday. So she drops the kids off at the restaurant, and she is about to go change in the back office, and she's trying to get dressed herself, but the dress has a zipper, and you know you need help with that sometimes. And Josiah happens to walk in, and you know he helps her. And the moment that his fingers kind of graze her skin, she's having this like almost visceral, at least mentally visceral reaction, but it's like in a good way. And she's just like, "Ooh, yes, he's touching me, but oh no, I shouldn't." And but they both, at least for a good chunk of the book, both of them have at least, if only, physical feelings towards one another that's very strong. They have terrible communication skills. Oh my gosh. And of course, it's all fueled by a lot of resentment, which leads to a lot of assumed ill intent. And by assumed ill intent, I mean like when you're happy and somebody says something to you that could be construed like 2 ways, you're more likely, based on your relationship with that person, to take it positively than you are negatively. But if you're like on kind of not the best terms with that person and they say something to you that could be construed negatively, you're more likely to take it negatively. So there's a lot of that in this book, and it's like super apparent. But they also can't seem to carry out basic conversations without arguing. It's super frustrating because like, grow up. Y'all are like in your 30s, like please take a deep breath, carry on a regular conversation. But like for the first like third, maybe half of the book, they can't seem to get it together and just carry a regular conversation without somebody's feelings getting hurt, assuming some ill intent, or just like assigning meaning where there is none. And that was a little bit frustrating, but that is like something they're trying to get over. And of course they also are just trying to get over the other. There's a lot of hurt feelings, and they're just trying to navigate and maintain this healthy co-parenting relationship that they have, while also like just trying to further heal themselves and move on. And then you have Yasmin, who's constantly just like, I made this decision, I gotta do what I gotta do, I'm the one who asked for the divorce, I gotta suck it up, put my big girl panties on and do what I gotta do. Then you got Josiah, who's like, I don't really like her like that, but I really kind of do. And like, they kind of miss with each other, like they kind of miss what they have, and they have this great partnership and they have all this stuff. And so they're just trying to find balance and a sense of normalcy after all the terrible things that have happened in their life. And make no mistake, like, all of it is terrible. Like, I couldn't imagine going through something like that. And I'm not even gonna sit here and pump it like I can. Like, losing two people that are so significant back to back, and you have one that's like older and like she's had her chance, but she's so full of love, and she is like, oh, the warmth and like the only source of warmth in Josiah's life. And then you have Yasmin, who feels so terrible because she tripped and fell and she lost the baby, and she has to deal with that guilt and that grief because she shouldn't have closed up alone like Josiah told her not to. But he feels guilt because he felt like he shouldn't have went on the conference, and when he felt something was wrong, he should have got on the plane and came right back. Like, both of them are playing such self-blame game, and it's terrible. And then when you see them going through their divorce, because there are some flashbacks in this book, and then they do carry like a lot of conversations. Yasmin's in therapy. She eventually convinces Josiah to go to therapy. Well, that's another thing. But in therapy, we learn a lot about what happened in their relationship and how tumultuous it was. And again, like, when you see them, you see that this is a couple who is really trying to save their marriage, or like one person who's really trying to save the marriage and one person who's really trying to save herself. And like, could you blame her? But whatever, I digress. So that's some of the conflicts that they're trying to overcome in this book. And in trying to overcome these conflicts, like Yasmin, she kind of learns to incorporate therapy into her daily life, and she finds people that she can lean on in Soledad and Hendrix, and that's that found family trope, which I love. I love a good found family. I can't help it. Because she found her girls and they all mesh together so well. Their personalities are not immediately alike, which I really like, because I feel like when authors are trying to make friend groups, they often make the characters either like starkly different or very much the same. And these are a group of friends who are very obviously like mesh well together, lots of similarities, lots of differences, but overall their vibe is very cohesive, and I really enjoyed that. She makes a conscious effort not to take things so personally, which I enjoyed seeing, because Miss Mama's, everything is not about you. And granted, yes, you went through some terrible things, and I'm laughing because like I've said those words have been said to me and I've like spazzed, but everything is not about you. So like, just not taking everything so personally and just kind of allowing people and their thoughts and their feelings to belong to them is like, that's important. Learning to communicate her problems. Like I said, Ms. Mama's in, she's in therapy. She's medicated for her depression, and she's like really making conscious efforts to be better and get back to her old self and kind of claw back to that person that she was, with or without Josiah. And I love that for her. Like, you see her really coming into her own and kind of overcoming those negative feelings and thoughts that she was having. She even makes an effort to be comfortable with Josiah moving on, which is like, the way she was lusting after this man, she really does make an effort to like be cool with Vashti, and even invites the girl to Thanksgiving, which, cause she better than me, cause sweetie, you can't have my man and my friendship. That's the only way I know how to put it. You cannot have my man and my friendship. She's better than me, and you know what we mean. You know exactly what I mean when I say she better than me. That means I think she's crazy, but whatever. But she also comes to accept her role in things and her role in the divorce, and so you just see a lot of growth in Yasmin. Josiah, he has a lot of growth as well. You see him actually learn to communicate, because Josiah was terrible at communication. He didn't even really want to much talk about Henry and Henry's passing, Bird's passing. He didn't really want to talk about none of it. He very much pent it all up inside and just tried to work through everything by himself. And that kind of played a big part in the crumbling of their marriage. And as a result, he learned to take accountability for his part in the divorce. Like, buddy, Yasmin needed somebody to talk to. She needed somebody she could emotionally rely on. She needed somebody who she could lean on. And she didn't really get that out of him. Like, yeah, he was taking care of the restaurant. He was making sure the business didn't go up under. He was making sure bills was paid. Like, he did his part as a provider, but that emotional part also is really important. He takes therapy because he wasn't even trying to go to therapy when Yasmin requested it the first time during their marriage. He wasn't trying to go. He thought it was like a quack situation. He didn't really think it was that important, that necessary. And then come to find out, it very much was. And so as a result, he actually takes therapy because Kasim in school he's being considered for a grade, like to skip a grade. But the teacher said that she felt like he was like academically prepared, but maybe not emotionally prepared, because he would be going from the 5th grade to the 7th grade. And that is a big jump. So skipping the 6th grade, kind of skipping that buffer period as he's trying to, because middle school is all about like emotions. It's not really about the education. So the school teacher recommends counseling sessions for Kasim based off of the journal entries that he wrote in class, in which he feels like he's really scared about losing his family. And so Kasim and Josiah, they make a deal. They're like, hey, I pinky promise, if you go to therapy, I will go to therapy too. And because Josiah goes into it like cold shouldering a little bit, not really taking it seriously, only to then be making emergency sessions with his therapist. Yeah. He eventually stands up to Deja about Yasmin, because like Deja would say some, like, not even necessarily directly rude, but just very petty, kind of disrespectful, or at least just very unforgiving, not graceful things about her mom. And Josiah would be like, she's just a teenager. She's just going through things. And it would be super frustrating because I'm like, y'all, even as co-parents, y'all supposed to have each other back. Like, y'all, even as co-parents, y'all supposed to be a united front against these kids. And it was not giving. And it felt like he only let it go on for so long because of his personal resentment towards Yasmin, but he gets better. And then he also comes to understand Yasmin's mentality during her grieving period, because they grieved very differently. And that's something that you just see in this book so much. They grieved so very differently. And I just feel like he finally got to understand where she was coming from and why she did some of the actions that she did. So I really enjoyed the character development. Overall, I'm going to give this book like a 3.75 out of 5. And I'm going to go over some of the things that I liked, some of the things I didn't really like. The spice. The spice is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm really not the best sounding board for spice, because it really don't take much to keep me entertained, spice wise. You could definitely tell they have a lot of chemistry, a lot of physical chemistry. So I kind of like, those scenes they were nice. Like, I enjoyed them. It wasn't necessarily like ghost pepper, but it wasn't necessarily like paprika either. Between the characters, because this is a book about Black people written by a Black person, the dialogue was so natural, and a lot of it felt like conversations that I could have actually held. Like the verbiage and some of the euphemisms and some of the things that they say and they do and how they interact, some culture references, like I get all of it. And it feels very natural. A lot of it doesn't feel forced. Like, it's really, really nice. Hendrix, as I've said, that is my girl. She is bold, outspoken, brave, says the first thing on her mind. I have friends like her, and I feel like I can assign Hendrix to a number of people in my life, minus, of course, some of her personal struggles. But like, Hendrix did it for me. I loved her so much. Most of the highlighted parts of this book was Hendrix. Yeah. I also like that they shed a positive light on therapy. Like, okay, we're here, okay? Seek help. That's the only way I know how to say that, is just seek help. They was like, some people act like therapy is the worst thing in the world. They act like therapy is for crazy people, crazy, whatever the hell that means. They act like they're too good or too proud or too manly or too feminine, or they got too much stuff under control. They can handle all this pressure, and they just don't seek therapy, and all they are is a faulty pressure cooker waiting to explode and hurt everyone around them. And I love that that Kennedy, Miss Ryan, because I don't know her like that, I love that she put so much emphasis on the importance of therapy and integrating what you learn in therapy into your everyday life, and, you know, making it a point to go and get help. They talk about some really hard topics, and you get to see two extremes of grief. And what the understanding that how I kind of visualize it in my head is like Yasmin and Josiah were standing on a frozen over lake, right? And then they lost Bird and they lost Henry. And the ice cracked under Yasmin and she fell straight through to the bottom and had to try to swim her way up to the top, get to the surface, catch her breath, and climb out of that frozen, chilly water. Josiah, on the other hand, he is standing on that ice and it is wafer thin. And he figures that if he can kind of shuffle around everything and kind of just tiptoe across the ice, he's noticing that it's not cracking, it's not pulling him under, but instead he has to tiptoe around all of these emotions. And he has a tiptoe around the ice, and that becomes his new norm. His new norm has become tiptoeing around the ice. So you have one person who's completely absorbed by it, and one person who is not, but is also not safe. And so I like that you kind of get a chance to see that. One of the things that I really loved in this book is the healthy co-parenting relationship that she has, that Yasmin and Josiah have with one another. They really do it for their kids. Everything that they do is with their kids in mind first. Even when they kind of re-sparked their relationship at the end, their first thought was, okay, let's not get the kids involved just yet until we know exactly what it is that we're doing. There's no need to put them through all this extra undue stress. And they really are always like kid first, which I really, really loved. I also like that they did not lead on Vashti and Mark. They didn't. When they realized that the feelings that they had for each other was going to prevent them from truly giving another person everything that they had, they cut the relationship. They cut their relationships quickly. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Because like, I feel like a lot of people play them games, like their rebound or the person that they are dealing with after the fact, if they still got feelings, they'll kind of lead the other person on while it's like monkey branching. It's like they're still holding on over here while reaching out over here. And I like that they didn't do that. Like once they realized that the relationships were not sustainable and that they weren't really being fair, they cut it. Now, oh God, some of the things that I did not particularly enjoy about this book. The connection that Josiah and Yasmin had seems to be almost purely physical. There's so much lust in this book. And it's like, when you read about their relationship before the divorce, they was horny. When you read about their relationship post-divorce and like how they feel about each other, they're horny. She's always reminiscing about the times they did it. He's saying about the times they did it. It's always about them doing it. And I'm like, cool, I'm here for the spice. I like a little spiciana, I do. But if that's all your marriage was, y'all can stay divorced for real. If that's it, like, y'all just horny? Like, okay. So it's not till the very end. At least like Yasmin comes to the realization that it's a little bit more than physical sooner than Josiah does, I think. Or like he just holds out a little bit longer because again, he's still filled with so much resentment. Their relationship was almost like purely physical. And I was not really feeling that part. Another thing that kind of got me, it's just one conversation. Some of Josiah's parts, while I do applaud the dialogue, is very obviously written by a woman. There's a scene where Josiah takes Kasim to get a haircut at the barbershop, and one of the conversations that they go into is the debate between who's the GOAT, between LeBron James and Michael Jordan. And that is such a tired, busted argument. Oh my God. And that is not all men talk. Granted, I wouldn't know because I don't hang around too many, but I don't think that's all men talk about. And granted, even when I was in the barbershop, because I used to have really short hair, even when I was in the barbershop, that conversation never happened. And I used to be in that chair religiously every 2 weeks. Like, so, but it's like, that's such a thing that I feel like women think that men talk about, that I just was like, it was like an eye roll. And it's real petty and very insignificant in the grand scheme of things. But like I said, there were just some parts that of Josiah's POV that you could just tell were written by a woman. And it's fine. And it's fine because I still enjoyed his perspective a lot and his POVs a lot. But there was just like that one conversation that I was like, okay, girl. And then, okay, so by like 7/8 through this book, I hope they ban Hellcats. I hope they ban Hellcats, SRTs, all V8s. I hope all of them get banned. And I hope that anybody that gets caught cutting the pipe on their car or whatever it is to make it sound like somebody stole a catalytic converter about their car, I hope they get tickets up to not less than $2,500. Anyway, by 7/8 through this book, Yasmin is in therapy, Josiah is in therapy, Kasim is in therapy. That is 3 out of a family of 4. They waited until Deja actually asked to go to therapy. Yeah, she asked to go to therapy because she didn't want to be the only one left out. Mind you, like I said in the beginning, or like I said, this girl hates her mom. She hates her. She's rude. She's disrespectful. She's holding a lot of resentment because she overheard Yasmin asking for the divorce. Before they actually got a chance to sit down and talk to the kids, she overheard the conversation in which Yasmin asked Josiah for the divorce. And she's been holding that against her ever since. But the girl has been skipping classes. She's been just outwardly petty, ungrateful. Like, her mom can't make any type of misstep without her being there to scrutinize and just vilify for everything. And in the conversations that she has with other people about her mom, it's the same thing. Girlie needed therapy. She needed therapy. But y'all waited until she asked for therapy to put her in therapy when she probably needed it more than Josiah and Kasim. Like, granted, this is not to say needs more than the other, because I think everybody needs a little bit of therapy. But like, she obviously needed it. And I feel like they failed her so much. And I feel like they waited 2 years to get this girl some help. And if their relationship is irreparable after that, I can't say whose fault it is. And I personally, but it's everybody's besides Kasim, because he's innocent. And the last thing that I really did not like about this book is that they really dogpiled on Yasmin. Everybody kind of really dogpiled on Yasmin. And it's like, yes, Yasmin is the one who asked for the divorce. Yes, Yasmin is the one who kind of made the official decision to kind of split up the family. Yes, she was depressed. Yes, she could not take care of herself. Yes, she was a little bit absent. Yes, yes, yes. She played her part. But God, they do not let that woman hear the end of it. Oh, even at the very end, when she's like at the New Year's Eve party, and they're like, she's like, oh, you know, even if we don't get married again, you know, I understand because it's hard and da 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 da. It's like, girl, either they forgive you or they don't. Asking for a divorce because, and her whole reasoning for asking for the divorce was because she was like, I can't save me and the marriage. I can't save both. I had to save me. And it's like, okay, cool. You made whatever decision that you had to make in that moment. But it's like, every chance they get, it's like they can't help but just sprinkle it on in there. You know, this is all your fault. This is all your fault. You did this. They can't help but say that. And then they can't help but mention it sometimes. And she dogpiles on herself too. And I'm like, girl, you played a part. Absolutely. So did he. And the only people who don't give her grief is are Hendrix and Soledad and Kasim. They don't give her no type of drama, but like they kind of like Josiah, especially because all that resentment, like I am surprised he can go to the bathroom as uptight as he is. And they just never miss an opportunity to just let her know like that she messed up. And I just didn't like that, because she made the best decision that she could with the options that she had. And had they stayed in the marriage, the resentment would have built, especially because neither of them were willing to communicate to the other in the way that they needed. And if the resentment would have just built, and the fallout would have been even more explosive, and there really would have been no chance for recovery, no chance at rekindling, no chance at anything else. And I feel like they were just so graceless with her for a lot of this book. And I really didn't like it. But I digress. I hope I didn't give like too much away. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give this book a 3.75. Really closer to a 4 out of 5. It's a good read. I'm excited for the rest of the books in the series. The third book, which is Hendrix's, is slated to drop May of this year. So that's definitely on my watch list. If I can pre-order, I'm gonna go ahead and pre-order so I can have it locked down, ready to go. So that's those are my feelings on it. Overall, I think it was like a really good book. I enjoyed a lot of the dialogue, the conversations. I enjoyed the themes and how they covered such heavy topics, but there are some parts where it did fall a little bit flat for me. But again, it is a recommend. I am gonna go ahead and recommend it to you. It is a romance. I do love that they got a chance to rekindle their romance at the end. I do like that they finally reconnected. Everybody kind of acknowledged their trauma and worked through their trauma and stopped pitting their trauma on other people. It just irritates me so bad. I'm sorry. But I liked it, and I hope that you do too. But yeah, I tried to make this review a little bit more structured, and I hope that I did. Let me know if you like it or if I should try something else. But yeah, if you have read Before I Let Go or any of the books in this series, let me know down below in the comments. I hope you guys are having an amazing Valentine's Day, an amazing Black History Month, amazing every month that it is. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.